Hey guys, welcome back to WhiteCheeto Gaming, where you can find all of your basic tips on Total War games. We are currently working on a full playlist of complete guides for Total War Troy. If you're interested in this content and want to keep up to date with future guides, hit that subscribe button. Today we'll be looking at some basic battle tips for Total War Troy. Topics we'll be covering are defending your flanks, bolstering your front lines, providing supportive fire, and various flanking tactics. So we'll go ahead and start this battle off. Speed this up real quick. We have 3 heavy shield spearmen, and then for the purposes of this video, we're going to be bringing 4 spear runners. These won't be used for flanking. They'll be used to demonstrate how you can bolster your front line. And so we have the guards of Troy, and then some spear fighters from Hector. 3 guards of Troy. And what we'll do is we'll just let the front line battle and just intercept any flanking tactics from these spear fighters, because we have spear runners. And see, we'll want to engage these heavy shielded spearmen with their frontline units, guards of Troy's. So here we go, coming in. Go ahead and send them after those. Okay, so frontline engagement got a bit mixed up. Usually we would want to bring around and flank, but I'm going to show you how you can bolster your front line. So you're watching these units. They're taking damage. The purpose of bolstering your front lines is to help out your frontline units that are struggling. We can see here that these guys are struggling because Hector is fighting here as well. And so, to bolster it, we'll just send these guys up. Usually we'll have 1 or 2 units in reserve for bolstering. The rest will be running around to flank. And so now their morale is increasing slightly, you see, because they've been bolstered by these spear runners. And so now we're just going to let them fight. But basically these frontline units are meant to hold, to allow you to bring your units around to flank. But for this section of the video, we just want to show how you can bolster your front lines. Whenever in my past videos I said you can use these units for bolstering, this is what I mean. See how these units, they're down to about half health, but they're bolstered by these spear runners. So in case these heavy shielded spearmen actually rout, these spear runners will be there to hold the units. If there wasn't a unit there to hold them, they would come around and flank our other frontline units. So this is a good demonstration of bolstering your front lines. And now we can see these guys, they're taking a bit of damage. We'll send these guys in to bolster them. And obviously these heavy shielded spearmen are winning against the spear fighters because spear fighters are not as strong as heavy shielded spearmen. And all we want to do is bolster to increase their morale, their staying power. We don't want them to run. These frontline units are key for our battles. They allow us to get our flanking units, our skirmishers, our archers, it allows them to get around and start firing into their backs. You can still see that these guys, they're still taking a bit of damage. And then so we're going to send another. Usually we'll only have maybe 2 units in reserve. So this is highly unlikely that you'll be doing this. You'll be bolstering more than 2 times. And you see here, now we've won this battle. And what happens is this part of the frontline formation collapses. So bring these guys around for a flank. And this is sort of what happens on the frontline engagement. Whenever one side collapses, it's sort of like a domino effect. Now they're starting to run, their morale's falling. We were able to bolster these guys to increase their morale so they could stay longer. And now we have collapsed on the frontline units. These guys, they're still fighting. Hector's in there, fighting pretty strongly. Guards of Troy are still staying strong. Heavy shielded spearmen, they've taken quite a bit of damage. So have the spear runners that we sent in first. And so now these guys, they're running. Guards of Troy are badly damaged. They've been flanked. The morale is going to take quite a hit. And you see, we have, well, actually, yeah, the heavy shielded spearmen have routed, but these spear runners are still there to hold them. Now that these guys have routed, we can bring these around and flank them. So this is sort of how you want your frontline battles to go. A chain reaction, one side of the frontline formation collapses, and then the rest, you can bring them through. And then the last reserve unit will bring them through. We'll hold them just for a little longer. And then we can bring these guys in. And so that's basically how you would want to bolster your front line. Alright, so now we're going to show you how you can defend your flanks. The enemy is going to have some Savage Centaur warriors, along with some Dardanian sworn fighters with a front line as well. We have 4 shielded spearmen and 3 spear runners. And this is how you can defend your flanks when fighting against cavalry units or any flanking units the enemy brings. So usually we want to defend the flanks with our frontline units on the sides. These two will be used to engage the middle front line, and these will be defending the flanks. So we have 2 Savage Centaur warriors coming in. Their front line, heavy Anatolian spearmen, will engage with ours, and we actually might need to defend the flanks with one of our spear runners. These guys will be used to bolster the front line still. And see how they're moving out to the sides with their sworn fighters and the Savage Centaur warriors. The frontline units are coming up. There's 3 of them. And so this will be a bit difficult for us, but we will be able to hold these 2 units with 1 unit, which is good. So we'll send 1 unit of heavy shielded spearmen up to these guys. They're moving in position to flank us still. Send these guys in. See, these 2 will hold. Now for whenever cavalry is charging, you do not want to charge. You want to brace your units, because these guys are charging into us. We want them to be sitting still so they can brace against the charge. And so here they go. They've been hit. Send these guys in. And so we'll go ahead and send those guys in to bolster them, but we'll bring these guys around to flank them. And then we'll bring these guys to this side, flank them as well. And so obviously these heavy shielded spearmen are going to lose against these 2 heavy Anatolian spearmen and their hero. But it's okay, because we were able to hold off both of their flanking tactics very well, and we're getting a good cost effectiveness from these guys because they're taking up 2 frontline units versus us using 1. And now these guys are being flanked, easily flanked. Savage Centaur warriors are taking a beating. These sworn fighters are running, sort of. So now the Savage Centaur warriors are running. And what we'll do is we'll bring these shielded spearmen around to this flank. Flank these guys, this front line. Looks like this flank is winning as well. The sworn fighters are routing, plus the Savage Centaur warriors. We'll bring the spear runners around here now to flank this engagement. These spearmen are going to flank. Yep, there they go. They're routing now. So we'll go ahead and, well, they didn't route. Go ahead and send them in now. We'll set these guys up to flank now. And here we go. There they go in. Easy flank. Looks like our flank maneuver over here got stopped by the Cyber Centaur warriors from coming back. Now our heavy shield spearmen are running. We're going to get flanked by these Cyber Centaur warriors. It's not good for us. These guys are almost gone. We're going to go ahead and bring these spearmen around. These sworn fighters are trying to get a flank off on us, but they're not going to work. There's our heavy shield spearmen running. Okay, so this engagement here we're losing. So we'll go ahead and send one into there. The rest over there. Okay, these are heavy shield spearmen. I need to send these guys over here. Cyber Centaur warriors have been broken completely, so they won't be coming back. That's what that skull means. Heavy shield spearmen are routing now, but this frontline unit has routed, so now we will engage those. Okay, so now we're going to bring these spear runners around the flanks to protect them. These sworn fighters are coming in again. Okay, so we have some units that have rallied. We'll bring them in for another flank. They're getting some volleys off, which is good. Morale is dropping. Heavy spearmen are rallying. These guys are running. Bring them back now. Collapse on them with that volley. Here they come back in. Some more heavy spearmen are coming in. Now these guys are going to rout. And then the chain rout happens. Now everybody is done for. So that is how you can defend your flanks and end up outflanking the enemy. Alright, so now we're going to look at how we can provide supportive fire for our frontline engagement. We're going to have some light spearmen just as our front line, and then some bowmen with a hero. And they will have some shieldless spears with Anatolian swords. Typically you want to provide supportive fire for your frontline engagement whenever the front line is engaged with shieldless infantry. This allows your missile infantry to generate a lot of value from firing into non-shielded units. So we'll have these bowmen go ahead and start firing at the non-shielded units, because they will take full damage from the missiles.
The foe has sighted your hidden units.
Let them just keep firing. Taking quite a bit of damage already before the charge has even happened. We'll go ahead and give them the attack order to get the charge bonus. And it looks like the AI has double engaged like this. I don't want to flank them just for the purpose of this video. Not yet, at least. So we want to fire at the shield the spears. Okay, so shield the spears are taking quite a bit of damage. They are doing a good bit of damage to our frontline units, though. Looks like these archers were obstructed, which is not good. Go ahead and fire back into them. There we go. See, now these guys, their morale is dropping fairly quickly now. And these guys are about to break in just a few seconds here. Okay, so they just broke. We'll keep firing into their backs. These guys broke as well. And so now this front line has broken. We'll bring them and collapse them on the enemy front line. Just make sure they form up. And they already broke. We'll just keep firing into their backs. It's very beneficial to fire at running units. Only time you shouldn't fire at them is if they have a red skull here, meaning they have completely broken. But we fire at them now because they do have a chance to rally and come back. And so that's basically how you should provide supportive fire for your frontline engagement. Basically only using them to fire at unshielded infantry engaged on the frontline formation. Alright, so now we're going to go over how we can utilize flanking tactics. We have 2 ambushers and 1 exemplary ambusher, and then some basic heavy shielded spearmen. These will be fighting up against the heavy Anatolian swordsmen and 2 Dardanian defenders. These will be hidden in the tall grass, or is this tall grass? Yes, tall grass. These units cannot be seen. We'll turn off fire at will so they don't fire and be caught or get caught in that shrubbery. And so what we'll do is we'll just place ourselves here, right? And we'll let them come to us. And as you can see, they don't see these ambushers. We'll let them come a little closer. Make sure our hero is over here to fight their hero. Okay, so they are getting some volleys off. These are some elite units of Dardania. Alright, go ahead and engage now. Move these guys around the flanks. They have been seen, but it's too late for them now. Frontline has engaged. Now just watch as we tear into these units. And so what we're going to do is we're going to aim to collapsing the center point of their formation. Give a couple volleys for these guys, give them an advantage, but then we're going to switch their target to these Dardanian defenders. And they are taking massive damage from the flanks, massive armor piercing damage, and also their shields are rendered completely useless because they're being hit from the back. And now you can see that these heavy shielded spearmen held off these Dardanian defenders quite well, which allowed these ambushers to just tear into them. This is sort of how you would need to play. See, they're losing hard now. Go ahead and fire at them while they're running. Switch targets to these Dardanian defenders, and then we'll bring these guys to their flanks. Go ahead and fire into them. Let's bring these guys just a little closer. Have them fire into these guys just a little bit. Let's just give this guy some boosts. And actually we need to fire at them while they're running still. They will come back, more than likely. Just need to damage them as much as we can. Alright, so now these guys are completely destroyed, which allows us to bring these guys over. They are still not fully broken. Getting some volleys into their flanks. We'll just keep volleying at them. Let these guys join this fight. Help out with morale. Okay, so those guys, those Dardanian defenders, have been completely broken. So now we can switch targets back to these Dardanian defenders. And those have been broken as well. So now we can just completely lay into them. Just go ahead and keep throwing spears.
One of your units has no more ammunition.
Alright, so there you have it. A good way you can completely, or well, even out the odds when fighting against very elite units. Even though they are heavily armored with shields and high combat stats, they still were able to we were still able to defeat them quite easily on the battlefield, utilizing Vanguard deployment with our javelin infantry. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to show you how we can utilize our missile infantry into outmaneuvering some elite units. This can be used for whenever your front line breaks and all you have left are missile infantry. What's going to happen is the frontline engagement is going to be here, and then it's going to break. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run your units in opposite directions. This allows for what if the one unit gets through, they'll chase after one, but it'll allow the other two to fire at their backs. This tactic can actually be used with just 2 missile infantry. It does not need to be 3. I wish we could have taken this hero out so that way we could just show it with the infantry, but this will be fine. And so we're going to go ahead and move these guys out towards the flanks. Have them fire at the fearless swordsman. Okay, so we're just going to let this happen here and demonstrate it with 2. Okay, so they're coming in. Once they get close enough, we just run. We run, and we run around these guys. So you see they turned, and now they're turning back again, and they're running at us again, and we just run. We just keep running. Make sure you run and stay within range of your other units. Bring them through some tall grass, reduce their speed. Sometimes the AI will come towards your other units, but it looks like these guys are just running. And now they're coming back. And you can see we have some lower tier missile infantry just outmaneuvering the highest tier infantry of Dardania. And now they're turning their backs. We turn around and just volley into them. Keep volleying. Just keep throwing spears at them. And this is basically how you can outmaneuver most of, well, any infantry. Mainly heavy infantry. This will be harder to do against flanking units, but the purpose of this video is for if the frontline engagement clash or the frontline engagement loses and you have some slow infantry chasing you. See, now they're just completely gone from just 2 units. 2 missile infantry. Completely wiped out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative for your future battles. Make sure to check out my guides on the faction units of Total War Troy, which can be found in the link at the end of this video. We are finishing up our guides on Total War Troy, and then we'll be moving on to Warhammer 2. We'll probably be putting out some faction guides first, and then maybe some Lord specific guides. Also, make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button to get updates whenever we post more Total War guides.